About the cabinet mission. Okay, so in this lesson we will study about the cabinet mission plan, then what are the major recommendations of the cabinet mission plan, then we will see about the Attlee's statement, then what was the Mountbatten plan, and then Indian Independence Act, and then later on the integration of states. So first, let's start with this cabinet mission plan. So on March 15, 1946, Lord Attlee, who was the Prime Minister of England, made a historic announcement in which the right to self-determination and the framing of the constitution for India were considered. That means that now Indians were given the right to frame the constitution. Okay, and this was an historic announcement in which the self-determination was given to Indians and framing of constitution of India were considered. So that's why this cabinet mission plan is very important. So Secretary of State, that is Pethick Lawrence, personally led a three-man cabinet deputation to New Delhi with the hope of resolving the Congress Muslim League deadlock and thus of transferring British power to a single Indian administration. Pethick Lawrence. Okay. So why British withdrawal seemed imminent in 1946? Why was this cabinet mission sent to India? So first, the success of nationalist forces in struggle for hegemony, then demoralization among bureaucracy and loyalists. Then the third reason was limitation of conciliation and repression strategy of British. That Britishers also knew that we cannot repress the Indians or the national movement which was going on, so we cannot repress this for a long time. So that's why Britishers also came to know that this is for a while, and now or soon or later we will have to give a freedom or independence to the Indians. And fourth thing was the Royal Indian Navy ratings revolted. The Royal Indian Navy personnel revolted against their officers and the senior officers. Okay, they disobeyed the commands. So this was also one important thing. And then official rule seemed impossible now. So these are the reasons why the British withdrawal seemed imminent by 1946. So the subcontinent was to be divided into three major groups of provinces, that is section A, B, C. So these were the major recommendations of the cabinet mission plan, that the subcontinent will be divided into three major groups of provinces A, B and C. And then it also rejected Pakistan, the idea of Pakistan, then provinces to have autonomy and residual powers, then common center for defense, communications and external affairs. Then that means that a common center for defense, communication and external affairs means that these matters will be with the center. Then three-tier executive and legislature at province, princely states and union level. Three-tier executive and legislature at province, princely states and union level. Okay, and then local provincial governments were to have the choice of opting out of the group in which they found themselves should be a majority of their populace vote to do so. That means the local princes were given to choose with whom they want to go. The early summer of 1946 therefore saw a dawn of hope for India's future prospects, but that soon proved false when Nehru announced at his first press conference as the re-elected president of the Congress that no constituent assembly could be bound by any pre-arranged constitutional formula. See, whatever recommendations had been given by the cabinet mission, these were the pre-constitutional formula, and that's why Nehru said that when constituent assembly will be formed, it will be sovereign and it will have the decision, it will have the right to take the decision whichever it suits for the Indian constitution. So that's why Nehru announced that constituent assembly could be, so that no constituent assembly could be bound by any pre-arranged constitutional formula. That means in other way, this was actually a straight away a rejection or rejection of the cabinet mission plan. So Jinnah read Nehru's remarks as the complete repudiation of the plan. Jinnah said that this is complete repudiation of the cabinet mission plan, so which had to be accepted in its entirety in order to work. So Jinnah, he also then convened the League's working committee, that is Muslim League's working committee, which withdrew its previous agreement to the federation scheme and instead called upon the Muslim nation to launch the direct action in mid-August 1946. So this direct action was launched by the Muslim League. So thus with this direct action thus began India's bloodiest year of civil war since the mutiny nearly a century earlier. Okay, so this type of a civil war was seen in 1857, and now again in 1947 this civil war broke out and the riots were going on the Indian streets. So the Hindu Muslim rioting and killing that started in Calcutta sent deadly sparks of fury, a frenzy and fear to every corner of the subcontinent, as all civilized restraints seemed to disappear. So huge riots were going on Indian streets. People were killing each other. So Clement Attlee gave a statement. Now Clement Attlee, he gave a statement that on June 30, 1948, a deadline for transfer of power irrespective of any situation in India. He said that by June 30, 1948, we will transfer all the power to Indians. So the British would relinquish power either to some form of central government or in some areas to the existing provincial governments if the Constituent Assembly was not fully representative. That is, if the Muslim majority provinces did not join. So Britishers had decided that by June 30 we will leave India. By June 30, 1948 we will leave India in any case and at any cost, and we will transfer the power to it may be a provincial governments or governments if the Constituent Assembly was not fully representatives. Okay, that is the Muslim majority did not join. So Britishers had decided to withdraw from India. So British powers and obligation vis-a-vis the princely states would lapse with transfer of power, but this would not be transferred to any successor government in British India. So Mountbatten would replace Wavell as the viceroy. So these were the Attlee's statement, and this is very important because this was actually a lapse of paramountcy. It is also called as lapse of paramountcy. That means earlier these princely states were under the British rule, and now British government, the Attlee statement stated that when Britishers will leave India, these princely states would there will be no responsibility of the British government. The princely states will be free to join any party, or they can stay independent themselves also. So this was the statement. This was the lapse of paramountcy. Like the states may join either side or they may stay independent, and Mountbatten would replace Wavell as the viceroy. So Mountbatten would be new viceroy of India. So the statement contained clear hints of partition and even balkanization of the country into numerous states and was in essence a reversion of the Cripps offer. So see, when there was a lapse of paramountcy, that means that the states are free to stay independent or to join either of the parties, that is either India or Pakistan. So this was actually a plan, the balkanization of the country. This was the plan for the balkanization of the country, that is to divide India into small units, into small states actually. Okay, and this was also a hint towards the partition. So the date was fixed by government to prevent any further escalation of constitutional crisis and to portray British sincerity. That is, they wanted to portray that British sincerely want to transfer the power to Indians. So Indian National Congress was fine with the transfer of power to more than one center, as it meant the current government could work for its constitution. However, emboldened by this provision, Muslim League launched a civil disobedience movement in Punjab to overthrow coalition government in Punjab. The Muslim League had only one agenda, and that was to get Pakistan. So by April 1947, Indian National Congress was ready for partition, provided Bengal and Punjab were divided in a fair manner. So by April 1947, Indian National Congress also got ready for the partition of India, and the thing they wanted was the fair divide of Bengal and Punjab. So Mountbatten, he came to India as Viceroy, and he also gave a plan that is called as Mountbatten Plan. So the important points of the plan were as follows: that Punjab and Bengal legislative assemblies would meet in two groups, Hindus and Muslims, to vote for partition. If a simple majority of either group voted for partition, then these provinces would be partitioned. Do you understand? Punjab and Bengal legislative assemblies would meet in two groups, that is Hindu and Muslims, to vote for partition. If a simple majority of either group voted for partition, then these provinces would be partitioned. So in case of partition, two dominions and two constituent assemblies would be created. Okay, so Sindh would take its own decision. So referendums in Northwest Frontier Province and Sylhet district of Bengal would decide the fate of these areas. So this was a Mountbatten Plan. Okay, that is the Bengal and the Punjab and Bengal Legislative Assembly, they will meet in two groups, Hindus and Muslims, and they will vote for partition. And if they vote, if there is a vote of simple majority, either groups of voted for partition with simple majority, then these provinces would be partitioned. And in case of partition, two dominions and two constituent assemblies would be created, and Sindh would take its decision, and referendums in Northwest Frontier Province and Sylhet district of Bengal would decide the fate of these areas. So on July 5, 1947, the British Parliament passed the Indian Independence Act, which was based on the Mountbatten Plan. So the act was implemented on 15th August 1947. So provisions of this act are the creation of two independent dominions, India and Pakistan. So according to the Indian Independence Act of 1947, 15th August 1947, okay, the creation of two independent dominions, India and Pakistan, a Governor General for each dominion for the effective operation of the act. That is, there will be a Governor General for each dominion, that is India and Pakistan, for the effective operation of the act. To implement this Indian Independence Act, there will be a Governor General on either side. The Constituent Assembly of each new dominion was to exercise the powers of the legislature of that dominion, and that existing Central Legislative Assembly and Council of States were to be automatically dissolved. So according to Indian Independence Act, the Constituent Assembly will work as a legislative assembly also, and the present Central Legislative Assembly and the Council of States were to be automatically dissolved. That is the Constituent Assembly will only work as the Central Legislative Assembly. Okay, so till formation of new constitution, both dominions to act in accordance with Government of India Act of 1935. So till the new constitution is framed, till that time both dominions will work under the Government of India Act of 1935. So Muhammad Ali Jinnah became the first Governor General of Pakistan, and Mountbatten, he became the first Governor General of India. Remember this. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he was not the Prime Minister of Pakistan. He was actually the first Governor General of Pakistan. Okay. Then after the independence, so on this way, on 14th August 1940, 15th August 1947, India got independence, and on 14th August 1947, Pakistan got independent. The nation of India, it was divided into two parts, India and Pakistan. Okay, so Nehru presided over all the Indian State People's Conference session in Udaipur. Okay, so the integration of state was very important, because with the lapse of paramountcy, there were a lot of states in India, the princely states in India, and the Indian government wanted these princely states to join the Indian Union. So for this purpose, All India State People's Conference session in Udaipur in 1945 was launched and Gwalior in April 1947. And he declared that the states refusing to join the Constituent Assembly would be treated as hostile. Okay, so July 1947, Vallabhbhai Patel took charge of the new States Department and skillfully incorporated all the states with baits and threats. So Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, he was very instrumental in integrating all the states with the Union of India. He used all the methods by hook or crook. He wanted these states to join the Union of India. So phase 1, by August 15, 1947, all states except Kashmir, Hyderabad and Junagadh had signed an instrument of accession with the Indian government, acknowledging central authority over defense, external affairs and communication. Okay, so all states had joined Indian Union except Kashmir, Hyderabad and Junagadh. So before, that is by 15 August 1947, all the states joined except Kashmir, Hyderabad and Junagadh, and they gave up only defense, external affairs and communication. So the defense, external affairs and communication was going to be with the central government. So the princes agreed to this fairly easily, because they were surrendering only what they never had, and there was no change in the internal political structure. That means when Britishers were ruling India, that time also the defense, external affairs and communication was not with them. It was with the central government, that is British government. And when these states, the princely states, they decided to join India, this time also they surrendered these three subject, that is defense, external affairs and communication, because it was never with them. So they were actually surrendering only what they never had, and there was no change in internal political structure. So except Hyderabad, Kashmir and Junagadh, all the states, they joined India. Then in phase 2 of the integration of states, it involved a much more difficult process of integration of states with neighboring provinces or into new units like the Kathiawad Union, Vindhya and Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan or Himachal Pradesh, along with internal constitutional changes in states which for some years retained their old boundaries, that is Hyderabad, Mysore, Travancore, Cochin. This phase was accomplished within a year. So in the second phase, the unification of the princely states with India was carried on. So the principal bait offered was a generous privy purse, while some princes were made governors and Raj Pramukhs in free India. So these were the things which were provided to the princes or the kings, that is they were given generous privy purse, that is they were given some amount of money to the princes, and some princes were made governors also and Raj Pramukhs also in free India. So this rapid political unification of the country after independence was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's greatest achievement. Okay, so this was the man who was instrumental behind unification of India. So that's all about this lesson. In our next lesson, we will study about the governance under British rule.